Welcome to this week's Dragonblade Authors Unplugged. Thank you so much for joining us. We have Dragonblade author Cerise DeLand and Dragonblade author Kathleen Ayers with us this week. Thank you, ladies, for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you. Great to be here.
And Cerise is in Paris, which I wasn't going to bury the lead on that one. So we can peek behind her shoulder and see Paris out in the window.
Well, there it is.
Yes.
There it is.
Yes. It's
so we
I'm
really
in
appreciate
mantra. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your trip to talk to us this week.
It's my pleasure. We live our work in many ways.
Well, Cerise, why don't we start with your book? Your book released first this week, and it's Lady Behave, which is part of the Naughty Lady series. Both authors this week are part of the Dragonblade Flame line, which is a little bit steamier for us, and
Yes.
I'm looking forward to reading both of these.
Yeah. This is my second book in this Naughty Lady series. It's about triplets who are impoverished and come from a very scandalous family, but everyone keeps all that scandal on the hush hush. And it seems that everyone in the family is talented in a different way, except for our heroine, whose name is Adelaide. And she is the youngest of the three triplets. And she is considered the diamond of the group. And she's rather too honest for her own good. In fact, it gets her into a lot of trouble. And in this book, she gets her into a real mess that our hero gets her out of. So it was exciting to write, because every time I wanted to make her into a very proper, demure sounding lady, she said, no, doesn't work. And so I had great fun writing her. I think she's rather different because she's the type of young woman who is lovely and knows it, but uses it in a different way in order to, shall we say, bring out the honesty in other people. So,
oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I had a good time. She's Irish. She and her two sisters go to Brighton, which is one of my favorite places in the whole world. I've been there a couple of times, and it's very Regency looking. And it's the pavilion, the Prince Regent's Pavilion, which he built before his reign, actually, is the centerpiece of the city. But people always went and they rented rooms, they rented hotel rooms, and they also built houses, many of them who were rich, so that they could go whenever he went. And he was a rather peripatetic traveler, so he went for 2 days here and 1 week there, and they were following him all around. And finally, a lot of people said, we're just going, we're just going to go to the beach. They didn't call it going to the beach, but they called it going for the season, August to October. So it was good.
Very cool. Very cool. So the hero of this book, you said the heroine is Irish. What is the background of the hero of this book?
Yes, well, the hero has had a rather odd past. He was on a grand tour with a few of his friends, and it was at the period when Napoleon decided that he was going to end the Treaty of Amiens, 1802, 1803, and he was imprisoned in a French, he was marched across the country, actually, and imprisoned in a citadel prison, which still stands and which I've been to, Verdun in the eastern part of France. So I put the poor man in the dungeon with the hero of the first book. And the hero of the first book survived very well. He wanted only revenge out of the first plot, but in this plot, our hero is subject to migraines, and he doesn't understand, and it literally stops him in his tracks. And our heroine has many insights into other people's characters, but her talent is she understands herbs, and so she she tries to help him cure his migraines. Yeah. So he's a marquis who has a very irritable father and mother who are interested only in money, 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 and our girl has none, none, none. So we have to overcome that challenge. And so it was great fun to write. And as Kathleen and I said a few minutes ago before we started here, boy, you have to work fast in 40,000 words.
So these are both novella length?
Yes, they are. Yeah. It's a challenge to keep it pertinent, you know.
No wait for the burn. Well, that sounds like so much fun.
It was to write. Yeah.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Kathleen, can you tell us a little bit about your book? It's Chasing the Earl, book 2 in the Arrogant Earl series. Is that right?
It is, and I'll make a confession up front. I don't know if anybody's seen the movie with Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves, where it's called Destination Wedding. I don't know if anybody's seen it. Okay, it's a great movie, especially if you like Keanu Reeves, which I do.
Which I do.
Okay, so you really need to watch it, but it's about the two most unlikable people that attend a wedding because they
Is there rolling down the hill and stuff in a vineyard?
Yes.
I did see that one. It is
So two very unlikable people, and so that was sort of my inspiration for this story, because in the first book, the two are finally, the hero and heroine of the first book are getting married in the second book, and it's just that these two, I mean, one is her cousin and best friend, and the other is his cousin, right? But Henry, who is the hero, is kind of a big bear-like guy. He's rude, he's boorish, he's crude. At a ball, he drops a canapé into the punch bowl. He's just, you know, and he doesn't really care what anybody thinks of him. And the problem is because he had a perfect older brother who his parents worshipped, and they expected so little of him that when his brother dies and he inherits the title, he just fulfilled their expectations. And Emma Jean, who is a bitter spinster, she dresses like she's in mourning half the time, and she's very sharp-tongued. And so the hostess also doesn't want her at the wedding, but she has no choice but to have these two people there, right? And so she keeps pushing them off on each other until they're forced to be in each other's company the whole time. And I you know, there's a shoe for every foot, right? And so they find each other. They find each other through being thrown together, and they fall in love with each other. But that starts out as a very passionate affair. First and foremost, they both, you wouldn't think it, but they're both very sensual people, very sexual people. And so they kind of, and she's had a broken heart because she lost her virtue many years ago, and that's why she's so bitter about men in general. And so they have this whole, and they're very unconventional. And as in the movie, as you said, Destination Wedding, they roll down the hill in the vineyard. Well, my pair, fireworks go off, and they startle. She slips on a piece of cheese and she falls down a ravine, and he rolls after her because he tries to grab her by the ankle, and she's so contrary, right, to everything. She kicks at him, kicks him in the head. He grabs hold of her skirt, and they both roll down the hill. So nobody else would want them but each other. But they're a wonderful couple. They're actually one of the 2 favorites that I've ever written. I just really like them together. They were super fun to write. So
yeah, it sounds like fun, especially when you don't know exactly where they're going to go. You know,
right.
likable people are sometimes too predictable. So
yeah, they both acknowledge who they are. So that's what I like about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that the inciting incidents is cheese. You know?
Well, there's a couple other things that happen, but yeah, she slips on a piece of cheese after he's been sprayed by a skunk. So now there aren't any skunks in England, but the hero from the first book is an explorer, and he brought.
How do you manage that?
Oh,
he brought a pet home, and they happen upon this pet, and so it's just yeah. So they have a series of misadventures together, and realize that they like each other more than they should, probably. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds delightful.
Yeah.
Well, both of you talked about having to get to the story quickly, you know, in a flying length book, but you also have to maintain a certain level of heat. Do you have an idea when you're going in how the physical intimacy between the characters is going to move the story forward? What's the part that drives the plot on, and also getting around the constraints of typical Regency behavior as well?
That is a real challenge, getting around the Regency etiquette. I can't say that I know in the beginning what that mechanism is going to be, or what the process is going to be of getting them together. I have to write for a while, and some of it winds up not in the manuscript in order to find how they're going to be together. Yeah. I find it a real challenge to put people together in the Regency period. Victorian, not so much, but
that's why I wrote the
talked
Victorian.
about Piercings the last time. I've still had my mind blown by Victorian piercings.
Oh, yeah, well,
never be the same again, Kathleen.
I know, right? Aren't you glad you asked?
I do too.
I find, so I have a sweet spot, and I love the Victorian and I love the Gilded Age, but I also love this really interesting sweet spot that is after the Regency, but before Victoria becomes like this crusty old lady that everybody follows. So I tend to write 1835 to 1845 is usually where I sit. So I'm not really Regency. I'm more early Victorian, I would say.
Yeah.
The only other author that I know that writes in that time period is probably Lisa Kleypas. She writes a lot of her books, and that's probably because I'm like her #1 fan. So that's probably where my appreciation of that era comes from. But I find that it is always difficult. As Cerise said, you have to figure out how to get these two together like pronto when you're writing a shorter book.
Yes.
You don't have a lot of time for the slow build. You have to be really careful with how you lay it out. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, you have to find what they have in common, or potentially do. Yeah.
Or make them slip on a piece of cheese and have them roll down the hill.
There you go.
Or give them.
When in doubt, cheese is always a good answer.
Yeah.
I'm so clumsy that I would have slipped on the piece of cheese. So I think that's probably why I thought of it. Yeah.
It's little slippers. I mean, they're called slippers, you know.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
So speaking of cheese, we talked a little bit about Brighton and about Brighton Pavilion and the research that goes into, or your settings for your books. And I know, Cerise, you're in Paris now.
Are you eating a lot of brie? Please tell me.
Talk to us about cheese.
Yes. Yes. In fact, I did have some good brie with dinner. Brie from the city of Meaux, Meaux. They call it Mo, and it is supposed to be the best brie in France, and it truly is very nice and creamy. And they sell it only, as they say here, at the point or à point, and
Oh,
it's
that
wonderful.
sounds amazing.
Yes, yes. One of the things I like about Paris is the fact that there are cheese shops. In fact, we're on the 5th floor of an apartment building, and right downstairs and next door is a wine and cheese shop. So you can go in, and they must have 50 different kinds of cheeses, and they are all French. All French.
I'm very jealous right now. Oh,
yes, come on over. And you can see in back of me, it's beginning to be the blue hour.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
the light changing.
Yeah, there. The light is changing because the sun is going down, and the way the earth turns, I don't know what it is, but all the buildings turn blue. And those buildings in back of me are apartment buildings, and they're really a cream color, but they are now blue.
Wow.
Oh yeah, they sure are.
Yeah, but in Brighton, yes, we've been to Brighton quite a few times. I like Brighton because it is not only on the shore, the coast, but you can walk the city proper. And in Regency times and the Victorian period, you did walk the city. And so you can see in Naughty Ladies, because all of it occurs in Brighton after Waterloo, August 1815, you can see what was there. Oh boy, do I have maps and descriptions. I've toured many of these Regency built houses in Brighton, and they are very useful if you need to know the dynamics of where your maid goes and how your housekeeper gets in, and how your butler can hide himself in his wine cellar. So it's great. I know far too much about Brighton, like where the stone comes from to build the houses, the fact that there is no sand on Brighton Beach. It's really awful rocks. So you cannot go out and frolic on the sand because you'll kill yourself.
It looked heavily in the pictures that I was looking at. It looked like it was all kind of coarse and heavy.
The rocks are about the size of your fist. And so to walk on, I mean, some people do, but they wear, shoes, beach shoes in order to walk on it. And it's lovely. Everything is accessible. They have a marvelous aquarium, which they've had since I want to say the early Victorian period. And they had newspapers. They had ballrooms like Almack's. It was very similar to London, and it was a great place to follow the prince, to try to be in his company.
Yeah, it looks like such a party place. You see the pictures of it, it just looks like such a party place.
Yeah, it is. Great. It's great. And you inhale all that nice, fresh, salt air.
And follow the prince.
And follow the prince, yes. Absolutely.
So Cerise, you talked about going places being important to your book and sending your books in places where you've been. Kathleen, aside from the talk of the piercings, which we did last time, what do you find most helpful when you're researching a book or figuring out how you want to set it or where you want to set it?
I'll tell you that I haven't traveled as widely in some of the places where my books take place. So I have to rely a lot on just regular research methods. I have, if you could see like my saved bookmarks, I must have over 100 different sites, and I watch a lot of YouTube videos so I can get a feel for the place and what it looks like, and those types of things. It doesn't hurt that my husband is what we refer to in Houston as an oil brat, which means that his father worked for an oil company, and so he lived overseas for a long time. He's been all over England. He lived in outside of London for years. So I get a lot of updates on, from him, would this have been, where they would have gone, or, and it doesn't hurt that he is a big Waterloo Napoleon fan. So I also get a lot of history from him. And that, if I have a specific question, like, would somebody wear this type of uniform or whatever? But I do have to say, I most of my research has to be done, obviously, on the internet. And I've been to Italy a bunch of times, but I've never set a book there. So maybe I should.
Maybe it's
but
time.
I haven't.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have to rely on the internet and books. I read a lot, so.
So you were talking about Waterloo, Cerise. Your next series is Josephine Bonaparte. Is that right? Is it?
Yes. I'm going to do a romantic suspense series, and in this first one, Josephine is missing some love letters
To someone else, right?
Yeah, yeah, yes, someone else, not Napoleon, and so we. I haven't figured out all the ins and outs of it yet, but the hero and the heroine are going to try to track those down. They're, I think, on the trail of something else, which is more useful to British intelligence, but I haven't figured that out yet. So, but yeah, I posted some pictures. I'm sorry.
You just have to roll around in a little bit, until you figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. It's all conceptual at this point. But I have been to Malmaison quite a few times, Josephine's house that she bought when Napoleon was rising to power. And I like it very much. She lived there after he divorced her, and she died there. One interesting fact about Josephine, it took her 3 hours to get bathed and dressed each day. And so my husband brings that up constantly. He finds that very intriguing. 3 hours. What else could you do with your time, madam?
Oh my gosh. 3 hours.
Yes. She enjoyed her bath and her tea in her boudoir, and it's quite interesting. So yeah, lots of good stuff that you pick up when you travel.
I can say 3 hours, you'd have to have a snack and a whole bunch of other stuff in that time period,
Exactly. You'd be served your breakfast, maybe part of your lunch.
I mean,
while you're trying to get into your stays, it's going to be a struggle there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Kathleen, what's next for you?
After I have one more book in this series that comes out next month, and he's a friend. They're all friends. The 3 arrogant earls are all friends, and so he's the last of the friends. And then I have a short story. I'm part of the Halloween anthology, Dragonblade.
Oh, the Ghostly Hour.
Yes, and
Midnight Requiem.
Yes, and the heroine in my short story is actually of the hero in the first Arrogant Earls book, because
cool.
Yeah, because he's an only child, but his joke that he keeps repeating is, I have so many cousins. Like, I don't even know who I'm related to. He's all these cousins, which makes it very easy which is why he stayed unmarried for so long, because he didn't care. So at any rate, Henry in the second book is one of his cousins. And so he's got lots of different cousins. But I have those 2 things coming up. And then I have 2 more and the Beautiful Barringtons coming up, which is another series that I work on. So I've got 2 more of those books coming up. So I've had a busy year.
Yes.
Sounds like it.
A lot of writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cerise, the blue behind you is amazing now.
I know, it's wonderful, isn't it? Let me see it. There we go.
It really is. I've just been watching it get deeper and deeper and deeper. It's really pretty.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really
I
pretty.
wish you could see outside the window, because in this direction over here behind my head is the steeple of Sacré-Cœur. We're at the top of it's called the Butte in Montmartre, and you can see the steeple out the window. It's rather nice to sit here in the morning, have coffee, and contemplate the sky. And
you're making me so jealous, because all there is over my shoulder is the reflection of Days of Our Lives, which I have on in the living room. I forgot to turn it off, so I'm like, oh dear, they can see Days of Our Lives.
Yeah, right.
Nothing exciting is happening, I can tell you that right now, but I forgot to turn it off. So
we all have those moments, or maybe those days and weeks and months. We're writers. We have to be in kind of one place doing this. Yes.
I work better when I have some sort of white noise in the background.
Yeah.
So if I have the TV on, and it's from years of working in media where I worked in radio and television, and you always had the radio on, or there was a TV in your office that played the station nonstop. And so I'm used to having that background noise. So it's hard for me to work in total silence.
I think that's why coffee shops work so well, because you don't have to pay attention to the noise. It's just there all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Supposedly it spurs your creativity, although I'm prone to watching paranormals on the weekends, and I'm not sure how those are sparking my creativity when I write the sex scenes, but we're hopefully for the Halloween anthology it helps. I don't know.
Let's see. So Cerise, you have one more in this series, and then what's next for you?
I do. I have one more in the series, and then and it comes out in, I always get it mixed up, July. And the 3 girls, the 3 naughty ladies, have a matron, a chaperone, and she's 36, and she's a dragon of London society, and she thinks that she is over the hill. And so our good hero is going to come and convince her that she truly is worthy. And this is in Get Your Duke On. So
the summer anthology.
Shorter book.
So what's your song? What's the song that you picked? Because aren't they all based on summer songs?
Oh, yes. You ready? I'm not going to sing it because you die, Yeah, it's the Beach Boys, Fun, 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 till your daddy takes your phaeton away. But in my case, the guy's a marquis in the beginning, and in the course of 25,000 words, his father dies. So he's a dude.
Hey, nothing works without a title,
Yeah. So the title of this one is Lady You're Mine, because I couldn't get fun. I just, but that's the subtext. And it gives her a phaeton.
I guess I need to think of a name for my Halloween story. I've written it, but I don't have a name. I better.
It does need a name.
I thought of that. I was like, I didn't name that. I should probably go back and figure out what to call it now. Yeah, it's a nice little spooky story about a haunt, because they wanted us to think about. Thankfully, see, all those paranormal shows came into for me, right?
Yeah.
I picked a haunted abbey that actually exists outside in England, on the Scottish coast, or on the coast close to Scotland. But it's a fictional name. I just based it on that abbey, but it'll be a spooky little story about about nuns and an abbess running around and scaring people and, you know, that type
Scary
of thing.
nuns.
Yeah, scary nuns.
That
Scary nuns.
has a terrifying
Well,
build-up.
our poor heroine is left penniless, and her name's Edwina, and so she decides to become a secretary, and she asks her cousin, one of the arrogant earls, to write her a letter of recommendation. And when she shows up at this estate and says, "I'm your new secretary," he's like, "But you're a woman." And she's like, "Oh, did I leave the A off my name when I replied?" So he thinks she's Edwin. And so she has to talk him into letting her stay and figure out his books and things. And then she meets him. So anyway.
That and scary nuns. That sounds like so much fun.
And yes, lots of nuns, yes.
Well, ladies, this has been a delight talking to you. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and I appreciate you letting us live a little bit vicariously through you, Cerise, in your Paris adventures. We would be grateful for any pictures you want to send.
Or Brie, if you want to send Brie, that would be
yes.
Or foie gras,
large wheel of Brie. Okay,
that would be more than
wine.
Yes, yes.
Red, that would be fine.
While we're looking at your pictures, you can send us all that other good stuff. Yes, yes. Would really enjoy
thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. I really appreciate it. I'm going to pop the links to both of the books, which are steamy, delicious reads and perfect for your weekend, in the comments section. So if you haven't gotten them yet, you want to snag them while you can. The release day price and pre-order price is always the best for Dragonblade books, so you want to make sure you get them right away. And we'll be back here at the same time next week. Ladies, thanks again. I appreciate this so much.
Thank you so much.
It was great fun.
Bye.
Bye.